Hello, everybody. Aiden here, and welcome into today's episode of Around the Slice. After months and upon months of research, discussions, opinions, the 2026 NFL Draft across 3 days has finally concluded. So I'm here today to break it all down from Buffalo Bills' perspective. Spoiler alert for you guys. It was a really bad draft from Brandon Beane, but I, of course, will give you context and discuss why. I thought it was very much a miss, a whiff, if you would, for the most part. But we're going to break it all down in a jam-packed episode today. I'm going to go pick by pick and give each pick a letter grade in terms of analysis and give that pick a projected role. And then after that, I'm going to rank the picks 1 through 10 because we made 10 selections based on impact and how much I like the pick personally. Again, this is all just my subjective personal opinion, of course. You can let me know down in the comments below what you think as we go throughout. And then I'm going to go through what I think Brandon Beane missed on in this draft, so I think was missing from this draft for the most part, for all intents and purposes. Trust me, again, spoiler alert, there was a lot. And then I am going to go through, just for fun, a quick post-draft 53-man roster projection and then tie it all together and finish up today's episode with a handful of free agents that we could sign now that the compensatory pick formula has reset this week and those players don't count towards the compensatory pick for next year's 2027 NFL Draft. Got all that? Good. Here we go. Bills 2026 NFL Draft selections 1 through 10 in order. In the second round, 35th overall, we took defensive end TJ Parker out of Clemson, comes in at 6'3", 263 pounds, 939 RAS. Again, I say this every time, relative athleticism score. 1 is a horrible athlete, 10 is a perfect athlete, so 939 RAS. He is a great screaming athlete off the edge. The problem is, I have a lot of problems with this pick, but the problem is I don't think that RAS, again, 939 translates to speed off the edge. He's more power than anything, and I don't think he uses his power to his fullest capabilities. And the Bills needed speed. Speed, bend and burst off the edge. I feel like this is just a clone of Greg Rousseau. This is just a clone of Bradley Chubb. So in a vacuum, overall, is TJ Parker a good player, guys? Yes, of course he is. He was like number 4 pass rusher behind, obviously, Bain and then Bailey and then Akeem Mesidor, but you could go either way on that one. But for the Bills specifically, they already have this with Greg Rousseau. They already have this exact skill set at a much higher level in Bradley Chubb. You needed speed and burst for Jim Laird's new style defense, and you didn't get it. So this is no slight against TJ Parker as a player overall, but for our system, lack of system fit, if you will, I'm going to give it a B-. It was ideal. It was okay at best. Kind of was my reaction. But projected role. In an ideal world with all of these, what was projected role be? Well, when we first signed Bradley Chubb, I said to manage his snaps, he should be rotating with someone because of his severe injury history. He tore his ACL in college at NC State. And then he tore it again. Or he didn't tear his ACL in college. Twice in the NFL. He tore it early on with the Broncos. And then once he got traded to Miami, the first year he got traded to Miami, he tore his ACL as early as Miami Dolphins' career, is what I'm trying to say. And that's exactly what will happen here. Rotation. Projected role in an ideal world with TJ Parker. Rotate in with Bradley Chubb opposite Greg Rousseau. But here's the problem. How will you diverse them? At the end of the day, if you like TJ Parker or not, that's neither here nor there. Your very first pick of the draft, again, round 2 pick 35th overall, can't be depth. A third or fourth edge rusher at best, max, is depth. No matter how damn talented or, in this case, very talented the player may be. Overall, I like TJ Parker, the player, but this is analyzing it for the Bills system, specifically, obviously, as a Bills podcast and such, so I'm not a fan, but I'm just worried about him being clones of what we already have. This one sucked. Round 2, 62nd overall, 62 overall, corner Davison Igbinosun out of Ohio State. 6'2", 189 pounds, so big, lanky, wiry build. 690 RES, that's decent enough. Man, there's so much horribleness going on here. There's horrible on so many levels. Number 1, on defense. Corner was the least of your concerns out of all the major defensive positions. Number 2, Davison Igbinosun is not a player that's going anywhere near the second round. Let me backtrack. Early to mid 4th round, sure, what the hell, go for it. 3rd, taking a corner at all in the second round, let alone trading the F up for a corner, I ain't buying it. It's horrible in my opinion. You felt you just had to trade up 4 spots for a corner, let alone take one in the goddamn second round. Speaking of F, that's exactly the grade I'm giving it. And F. But moving past the F grade, let's give a projected role. Compete for the CB3 job. I use the word compete very tightly because I don't think this is locked in CB3 at all. We'll get to the pick in a handful of moments and minutes here and what have you, but they drafted Toriano Pride, and I'm still not ruling out in the slightest of them re-signing Trey White now that that compensatory pick formula situation has reset. So compete for the CB3 job is a very tight terminology I use there because Toriano Pride is going to compete with him, and then Trey White I wouldn't rule out in the slightest, in the least at all, of him coming back and re-signing the organization as well. So yeah, I don't know. That so much horribleness and so many levels going on there. Run for 102nd overall. This this made my blood boil. Tackle Jude Bowery out of Boston College, 6'4", 314 pounds, 9.40 RAS. Very light on his feet for a tackle. Now, early 4th round, literally the very second pick of the 4th round, taking Jude Bowery, that's fine. He was very much widely expected, consensus-wise, consensus board-wise, what have you, for all intents and purposes, to be a mid to 4th second round pick like he is here. Again, 102, literally the second pick of the 4th round, excuse me. But for us specifically, what are we doing? The guy might not even make the team. You have Travis Clayton as tackle depth. Yeah, you lost Ryan Vandermark, but that's exactly what Travis Clayton. Wrong person. Tylen Grable, excuse me. Well, you do have Travis Clayton too, but Tylen Grable is the main guy I want to talk about. You lost RVD, Ryan Vandermark, but you have Tylen Grable, who I like his development trajectory quite a bit more than most, I feel like, based on the last couple preseasons, if he can get the concussion stuff figured out as a young developmental swing tackle. So he's going to be your main swing tackle. And then you have Chase Lunt, who was a 7th round pick last year. I'm not doubting by any means whatsoever that what am I trying to say? I'm not doubting at any means that Jude Bowery is like miles better than Chase Lunt. He absolutely is. Much better athlete, much longer arms, all that. Yeah, I was about to swear. All that. But for us specifically, we had tackle depth, and you're just like compiling guys at a need, not even a need, at the position that's the least of your concerns. Your swing tackle job is already going to go to Tylen Grable, and then you're going to have him compete. That's my projected role for him. Compete for a roster spot with guys like Travis Clayton and Chase Lunt. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to give this F. That's 2 Fs in a row, but I don't care. Brandon Beane, get your head out of here. You know what? I'll say it. Get your head out of your ass and come on. These are not like tackle, even worse than the corner, and the corner was already an F, so both F grades, unfortunately for me. Round 4, 125th overall. Wide receiver, this is my dude. Wide receiver Skylar Bell out of UConn. He's 5'11", 192. So, come to that. I compare. Now, he's nowhere near the talent level, but this guy is now. But coming out of college, build, archetype, whatever, very much in the same ilk, same mold and archetype, if you would, as a guy like Devontae Smith, Skylar Bell, Devontae Smith. Both, quote-unquote, undersized frames, both small, slender frames, who were just slot receivers in college, but play way above their weight class. Like, both their contested catch abilities is nutty for what their initial small and undersized frame would suggest. Skylar Bell, by the way, 9.83 RAS. I'm going to give this an A+. I loved this pick. Heading into the draft as a whole, more specifically, talking with the people around me, you know, my dad, my cousin, my uncle, etc., we have a group chat. Anyway, I mentioned it before. Anyway, talking to people surrounding me, I was like, damn, I want one of Bryce Lance as a true height, weight, speed guy, or Skylar Bell as a fun run after catch, slot out, wide piece. And we got Skylar Bell. For that reason, I'm going to give it an A+. And the projected role is a couple of different things. It's twofold. In year one, be an explosive defense. 50 to 60 targets, great. Push Keon Coleman out of the way. But in year two, be a high-volume target earner in year two and beyond. Be part of that nucleus with DJ Moore, and Khalil Shakir, and Skylar Bell. That's your 3 starting wide receiver sets in 2027, year 2 and beyond. Skylar Bell gets an A+. Spoiler alert as we go on here, that's the only pick I truly really liked. The rest were just to bad to terrible. Round 4, 126 overall, linebacker Caleb Alarms-Orr out of TCU. This is a big hulking linebacker, prototypical size, even more so now. 6'2", 234 pounds, and for that size, pretty damn good 9.33 RAS. He profiles as follows. He's a big, hulking, physical style, downhill thumper linebacker and just good enough in coverage. I love those words. Big, downhill, physical, thumping, blitzer. The problem is, again, we already have that in Dorian Williams. Dorian Williams, in theory, I love the idea of him being weaponized as a true blitzing downhill style linebacker in this new blitz aggressive, man aggressive 3-4 Jim Leonard style defense. That's exactly what Caleb Alarms-Orr is, excuse me. And speaking of Dorian Williams, between Dorian Williams and Team Caleb Alarms-Orr, I do not view Alarms-Orr as a starting weak side linebacker like many people do. First of all, I've been saying it for the past 2 months or so. I want Terrell Bernard to move from middle to weak side. Skill set fits much better. Not like a glove, but if there's a sliver of hope, it fits much better there. Jim Leonard, Brandon Beane stuff and staff like that clearly do not agree. I'm past that. Terrell Bernard stays at middle linebacker. I do not view Alarms-Orr as starting weak side linebacker. I don't want to say I'm not nearly as high, but bottom line, I'm not as high on this pick and player as other people are right now. And people seem like over the last month or so kind of accepted, well, shoot, Dorian Williams is going to be fine as a starting weak side linebacker. I very much push back on that and disagree personally. I do not think that at all. I do not view Dorian Williams at all as a starting linebacker. I just explained the blitzing mechanics with him. Love that skill set, but he's very poor in coverage, below average at best, I'd say. And that's not a full-time starting linebacker, at least in my opinion. It should be in your opinion as well, but I think there's too much overstated chatter about that. In my opinion, that's just where I stand. Caleb Alarms-Orr will be a quality depth player in an ideal world. Speaking of ideal, I'm going to give it a B. Not as high as other people. But projected role, ideally, compete for a direct backup role. As it stands right now, Terrell Bernard's the backup middle linebacker. And at weak side linebacker right now, you have Dorian Williams, although I'm expecting a veteran addition. Well, Jesus, you would hope, but Brandon Beane just kind of failed this draft and offseason up to this point so far. So they got to sign a weak side linebacker. And assuming they sign one, Dorian Williams would be your backup weak side linebacker to the veteran, right? Cool. Great. At middle, who would be the backup linebacker to the starter and Terrell Bernard? Joe Andreessen's the incumbent right now, and he's going to compete with Caleb Alarms-Orr in that situation. Again, very contingent on adding a veteran at your starting weak side linebacker. Next, round 5, 167 overall. Safety, Jalen Kilgore, South Carolina, coming in at 6 foot, 210 pounds, 9.60 RAS. These are all hyper-athletic players, but not fit our system in the least. I don't like this. People are seeming to love this. Yeah, great. He's an athletic, versatile safety. Stop me if you've heard this before. He's an athletic, versatile safety that can play both slot corner and safety at a pretty good level. What was the point of drafting Jordan Hancock then last year in the 5th round if you just doubled back a year later and literally to a T in the 5th round as well, same exact spot pretty much, same exact round, and drafted Jalen Kilgore? How much versatility do you need on the back end? CJ Gardner-Johnson's a starter, but he's versatile. But for depth, you have Jordan Hancock. You have Jalen Kilgore. What was the point of drafting Jordan Hancock last year in the 5th round if you're just going to get a better prospect than him in Jalen Kilgore, literally same round, exactly 1 year later? That's why I'm giving it a B-. How do these versatile chess pieces fit together? Like, all of these picks are just clones upon clones of each other, clones upon clones of guys who already have in the roster. Jesus, guys, I'm sorry. But Brandon Beane, what in the hell are you doing? Jesus, man. Get your head out of your ass and have different skill sets going out the yin-yang, out the wazoo. Like, come on. A defense fan, you drafted TJ Parker. You're exact clone of Greg Rousseau and Bradley Chubb. And you drafted Jude Bowery. You already have tackle depth. You draft Jalen Kilgore. You already have Jordan Hancock. What is the obsession with drafting for depth, and repeating skill sets and having clones of skill sets that we already have in the roster? Kilgore, and that's back at the B- for me. Projected role, again, it's twofold across a few years. Be a versatile chess piece in year one. So would he bump out Jordan Hancock? I'm assuming he would. I just want to rant about that. Then become a starting safety opposite Cole Bishop in year 2 and beyond. You have Geno Stone right now, 1-year deal. You have CJ Gardner-Johnson right now, 1-year deal. Hell, I can't even promise if CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to be on the team because of his ferocious attitude and just, listen, I like it, but sometimes he's a little much. You know what I'm saying? So I can't even I can't even promise you that I'll be on the team the whole year. But Jalen Kilgore, like, it's just more of the freaking same. Beat your head against the wall. Anyway, round 4, 181 overall. Here's another one that's more of the same. Defensive tackle Zane Durant, 6'1", 290 pounds, 9.28 RAS. I'm pretty sure every player that goes to Penn State, it's a prerequisite requirement that they have to be an elite athlete or they're kicked off the team. I'm joking, but not joking. So in a vacuum in this player, I really like this player. I actually think he should have gone the mid to late second round instead of the late fifth round here. Third round, excuse me. Mid to late third round instead of the late fifth round here. Not for us, just in general. But you already have a couple of players like this on the roster. Ed Oliver, same exact body type. TJ Sanders, very similar body type and skill sets. Ed Oliver, TJ Sanders. I don't even know how he projects this damn new defense, by the way. Ed Oliver, TJ Sanders, Zane Durant. All the same. All three. Penetrating style pass rush, penetrating style 3 tackles. Who's going to play where? Who's going to play how much? It's just a disaster. It's overloading, repetitiveness, and clones, in my opinion. I'm going to give it a B+. I do like it, but that's my one word. A lot of worries come derived from that notion. I just want to rant about. Projected role, be a legit rotational piece behind Ed Oliver. But again, can he be a legit rotational piece if he's the same exact thing as TJ Sanders 1 year later? I don't know. But that's just ideally what he has to be. Round 7, 220th overall. Again, something we don't need in the least, especially since we took Igbenogany in the second round. Round 7, 220. Toriano Pride Jr. Toriano Pride, corner from Missouri. 5'10", 185 pounds. Kind of an undersized corner, if I'm being honest. 8.40 RAS. Very talented, very high-level athlete. Again, if you waited till day 3, like 5th to 7th round, say you didn't take Igbenogany in the second round, and you only took Toriano Pride, corner on Missouri here in the 7th round, I'd be like, cool. That could be quality depth one day. Right now, very sufficient level of depth at the very least. But you just had to double up. You had to trade up 4 picks for Igbenogany. So it's twofold, combining Pride with Igbenogany. The whole thing's a mess. Quote unquote strategy at corner. I'm going to give this pick an F. Projected role. Compete for a roster spot. Like, sure, maybe you compete with CB3 with 4 CB3, excuse me, behind Bedford and Harrison. In a perfect world, ideal world, guys, with Igbenogany, but that's a 5-round difference. Just compete for a damn roster spot at the end of the day. Like, sure, you could be a high-end special teamer, but right now I have no idea about that. Round 7, 239 overall. Punter Tommy Doman, Florida. Punter size doesn't really matter, but this is a big punter, so I'll say anyway. 6'4", 214 pounds. No RS. Duh, who cares about punter and tackle rarely. I'm going to give it a B+. Like, it's a punter. Projected role. We can move on from this one quickly. Win the starting punter job. The Bills have cycled through so many different punters, really, ever since Brian Moorman all those years ago. I wasn't alive for all of them, obviously, but come to mind, like, we had, who's that guy that was bad? We had Corey Bajorquez for a few years. Then we had Sam Martin. And last year, we literally went through 3 different punters. Then Mitch Wisnowski was actually pretty decent enough. But I expect Tommy Doman to win the punting job pretty easily to have a cost-controlled punter for the next 4 years. Hopefully longer. Very last pick of the draft, thank God. Going through this again is painful. Round 7, pick 241 overall, guard. How many offensive line? Armaj Reed Adams, Texas A&M, 6'5", 314, 6'5", height, 314 pounds weight, 7.88 RAS. I don't know. I like Armaj Reed Adams. At one point, he was considered a second or third round pick, and then he kind of had an season at Texas A&M at best. So I'm going to drop this grade. I have a C+ here, but we're loaded at guard, so I don't get this at all. You have Austin Corbett. You have Alec Anderson. You have Jude Bowery, who is said to play tackle guard versatility, although I don't really agree with that. Tylen Grable has tackle guard versatility. Point is, you're loaded at guard even more so than tackle. C+ for me. Projected role, just compete for a roster spot, just like Pride. Oh, that's over with. Thank God. Bill's final 2026 NFL draft grade for me. You might say, Aiden, you're being too harsh. Guys, Brandon Beane deserves to be shredded for this. So for all those reasons I just mentioned with these pick analysis, I'm going to give it a straight up D. The only thing holding it back from an F for me is the Skylar Bell pick and then the Skylar Bell pick. That's about it. I gave it an A+. Rewind if you want, and then a quick analysis. Final draft grade, 2026 Buffalo Bills draft grade, D. I'm sorry if that sounds too harsh. Brandon Beane deserves to be shredded. Terry Pegula promoted you to not only sticking with GM, but he promoted you to president of football ops, president of football operations, and GM now, and you give him this. You give Jim Leonard this in his first year as a defensive coordinator. Give me a effing break, man. I'm going to say it again. Get your one pound time. Get your head out of your ass. This is despicable. D. There's a lot of things he dropped the ball on. What was missing from this draft? I asked myself, oh, buddy, impact. Other than Skylar Bell, and it might not even be high enough volume in year 1. Other than Skylar Bell, who in God's name is going to impact anything? You reached on players. You traded up and moved around too much for all this crap. You doubled up on positions you didn't need to. You took positions that, quote-unquote, need you didn't have a need at whatsoever or very little of. There's a lack of impact. Who is impacting the damn team in this other than Skylar Bell? And that's probably not even going to be in year 1 to a true amount. Speaking of trading around so much for ultimately nothing, like nothing of impact, was atrocious and ridiculous. Speaking of trading around, you traded up 4 picks for Davidson Igbinosun. The quote-unquote strategy at corner was a complete joke. Take out Davidson Igbinosun. You take Toriano Pine in the 7th round. Okay, sleeper from Missouri. I like that, his locked-in corner depth. But there's no strategy there when you trade up for Davidson Igbinosun. There's so much horribleness going on there, as I explained. And then you just completely drop the ball at a couple positions, specifically in nose tackle and speed rusher. There's 2 things. Look at Denver last year. There's 2 things that Jim Leonard thrives on, needs in his defense. A nose tackle and a speed rusher. Totally dropped the ball on that. Your starting nose tackle right now is Zion Logue, /1 tackle. Your starting nose tackle right now is Zion Logue, and you don't have a single speed rusher. You have power rusher. Oh, sorry. How could I forget? Javon Solomon, everybody, who's horrible off the edge and just a special teamer at most. So, ranking Bills 2026 draft class, number 1, obviously, wide receiver Skylar Bell. Number 2, defensive nickel Zane Durant. Number 3, punter Tommy Doman. And then after that, it takes a cliff dive. Number 4, linebacker Caleb Alarmzor. Not nearly as high as others are right now, it seems. Number 5, defensive end TJ Parker. Pretty good player in a vacuum, but not for us whatsoever. Number 6, safety Jalen Kilgore. I was about to swear, what the hell was the point of Jordan Hancock last year? Number 7, guard Armaj Reed Adams. You're loaded at guard and interior. What are you doing? Number 8, corner Davidson Igbinosun. Trade it up. Trade it up. Just horrible. So much horribleness going on there. Number 9, tackle Jude Bowery. Just a despicable, inexcusable pick. Number 10, corner Toriano Pride, because you got to factor in the whole Davison Igbinosun saga with that. Bills 2026 post-draft 53-man roster projection. QB, Josh Allen locked in. I was really hoping they would take something like Cole Payton or Cade Klubnik, but unfortunately, QB2 has to be Kyle Allen. The only one that's cut is Shane Buechele. RB, James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson. That never changes of the past couple years. Cuts, Frank Gore Jr. He'll be back the best way. Wide receivers, I think there's 3 locks here. DJ Moore, Khalil Shakir, Skylar Bell, and then the 4th lock is Josh Palmer to a degree. No one wants it. And then 5th one, Keon Coleman. I'm still looking for a trade for that, hopefully, though. Number 6, though, I don't want Miko Haldeman to make the roster, but he has been dropped specifically by name multiple times by Brandon Beane, Joe Brady this offseason. It looks like he'll be the prime punt returner, number 1 punt returner for us, so Miko Haldeman. Cuts. I want to mention Tyrell Shavers. Unfortunately, he'll start on PUP and miss most, if not all, of next season with the torn ACL. Elite special teamer and underrated receiver as well. But true cuts. Trent Sherfield and Jalen Virgil. Big special teamers. Great blockers. I'm sure they'll be back to back. And then Steven Gosnell, who was a UDFA last year. Tight end. 3 deep. Obvious. Locks. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Jackson Hawes. Your cuts are Kaliki Latu. He looked at least functional, though, when he got his chance against the Jets in Week 18 last year. It's a development of XY guy. And then offensive line, you got your 5 starters from left to right. Left tackle, Deion Dawkins. Left guard, Austin Corbett. Yes, you don't bring a veteran with tons of experience and not start him. I have him starting at left guard over Alec Anderson. Center, Connor McGovern. Right guard, Cyrus Torrance. Right tackle, Spencer Brown. And then the bench. I have 5 bench guys for a total of 10. That's a bit heavy, but this here I think is justified. Center, Lloyd Cushenberry. Guard, Armaj Reed Adams. Guard, Alec Anderson. Tackle, Jude Bowery. Tackle, Tyler Grable, who I'm higher on than most in developmental trajectory. Cuts. This one sucks. I think you could actually get a 6th or 7th round pick at this point, though, via trade. Center, Cedric Van Granger. Tackle, Chase Line. Guard / center, Nick Broker. And then tackle, Travis Clayton, the International Pathway Program player. Just hasn't worked out in the least. Defensive tackle, there's all 4 of these guys are locks to me, and then we'll talk about the 5th one. From 1 to 4, Ed Oliver, starting 3 tech, Deion Walker. He's technically going to be your starting 1 tech / nose tackle, but I don't think he can play there full time, so that's my concern with that. And then 3rd, Zane Durant. 4th, TJ Sanders. And then I do have Zion Lowe because he's literally the only true run-stuffing nose tackle, big, literally and figuratively, on the roster right now. Cuts, unfortunately, I got to cut Dwayne Carter coming up a torn Achilles, and I think that was kind of a waste of a 3rd-round pick a couple years ago anyway. But Arian Mathis, I was really deciding between him and Zion Logue as the nose tackle. Zion Logue just intrigues me a bit more. And then Tommy King-Basote, whatever, don't care. Defensive end. I know some of them are linebacker, outside linebacker terminology, defensive end, 3-4, whatever. Defensive end, bottom line, defensive end. 1 through 4 are locks, and then the other couple are sort of locks as well. Not as much, though. Greg Rousseau, Bradley Chubb, G.J. Parker, literally all the same player. Very confusing. And then Michael Hoyt, who can play all over the place and in coverage even. And then pretty close to locks, Landon Jackson, who I don't know where his spot goes in this defense, but you gotta have him on the roster as a 3rd-round pick list here. And then Javon Solomon, he can't play off the edge, but elite special teamer, it looks like. Cuts, Andre Jones Jr., he at least looked functional last year, so I won't be surprised if another team scoops him up for a roster spot. Linebacker, Terrell Bernard, starting middle linebacker right now. Dorian Williams, starting weak side linebacker. That can't stay that way, but for now it is what it is. And then your 2 main backups, Caleb Lawrence-Orr and Joe Andreessen, and that's it. 4 linebackers. In the past, under McDermott, they had 5, even 6 linebackers. But look at Jim Leonard's trends on his defenses with the Broncos specifically as the top defensive assistant there. Defensive pass game coordinator. That's how he rolled with 4 of them. Cuts, I have Keontae Jenkins, who is a prime pass guy, and Jimmy Charlo. Really cool story on. Corner, I kind of went heavy here. So you have your starting trio, your 2 outside corners, Christian Benford and Max Hairston, your starting slot corner of D. Elford. And then just because of 2nd-round pick nature, Davison Igbinosun's a lock. And then these last couple, I do have Toriano Pride and Jordan Hancock. making the roster. Jordan Hancock kind of just got shoved to the side, though, with Jalen Kilgore. I do have Kilgore at safety, if you're wondering. But cuts, no, none of these concern me. MJ Devonshire, Corey Couch, and Daryl Porter Jr. At safety, you're starting duo of Cole Bishop and CJ Gardner-Johnson. And then Geno Stone and Jalen Kilgore. And then you have Sam Franklin. Cuts, DeMar Hamlin and Wande Owens. At kicker, Tyler Bass, although I do really want competition, which I'll explain the free agent. Cuts, Maddox Trujillo. Punter, Tommy Doman. I think he'll win pretty easily as a cost-controlled rookie the next 4 years. Cuts, Mitch Wisnowski. Long, snapper, Reed, Ferguson. Obviously no cuts there. Bills free agent targets. I got quite a few here after NFL draft. At wide receiver, I want a veteran to kind of bump out Keon Coleman via trade. So wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins. This is a legacy receivers, wide receiver 4. That's what they would be. And then Noah Brown. I'm a big fan of bringing back Brandon Cooks. That's the one I'm zeroing in on. At defensive tackle, there's one option here. Nose tackle, DJ Reader. I think that's a must. I got 5 pass rush defensive ends here. Hassan Reddick, and they all fit the speed mold. Hassan Reddick, Leonard Floyd, Cam Jordan. That's a legacy player, like the Hall of Fame off the edge. Derek Barnett and Jadeveon Clowney. I would probably the couple I'm zeroing in on personally. Cam Jordan, if you want to go legacy, but more realistically, Hassan Reddick and Leonard Floyd. Let's not forget a few years ago, Leonard Floyd had 10.5 sacks with us. A couple linebackers. Again, move Trobon to weak side, but I think Bobby Okereke can play either, and then Bobby Wagner's another legacy signing. And then Jermaine Pratt, who I've warmed up to a lot, I think is underrated. And then Shaq Thompson. He said the day after McDermott was literally a day after McDermott was fired in locker room clean out day that he wants to go somewhere where he has a starting opportunity. I didn't think in any world we didn't. So I would very much like Shaq Thompson back, and he would be the starting weak side linebacker as he could play both linebacker spots. And then we have corner L'Jarius Sneed, knee issues, but as a veteran depth corner. This is why I didn't like doubling up a corner whatsoever, because you can find a couple deep, pretty good enough outside veteran corner options, and L'Jarius Sneed, and then Trey White, big fan of bringing him back. And then Adoree Jackson at corner as well. I think Tyler Bass needs legit competition, so bring back kicker Matt Prater. I think he would win that job pretty easily, if I'm being honest with all you guys. So anyways, guys, kind of an extended draft recap episode, jam-packed episode, a lot of fun exercises. Anyway, just a reminder, draft grade of a D for this year. I think it was a really, really poor draft. If we get knocked out early next year in the playoffs again, aka wild card or divisional round, Brandon Beane better be packing his bags the next day. So that's just my thought. Anyways, guys, you can follow me on Twitter/X for any additional Buffalo Bills or NFL thoughts, opinions, and discussions over there at AYGartner13. You can, of course, watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If you're watching YouTube right now, let me know down in the comments below. I'm not being too harsh. I don't think I am. But what are some of your favorite picks? What are some of your least favorite picks? Let me know all that down in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to the channel for all of this fun stuff. Please share this episode and channel with anyone and everyone you know. I greatly appreciate the support. See you next time. Goodbye.